series that they played, they got 0-2'd by SBT.
Yeah, and I think that basically tells you the whole story, right? We see a hungry team on the rise. Nobody expected RPG to take down the behemoth that was beyond the game up to this point. They were the King Slayers, if you will, the first and only team to achieve a 3-point victory over them. The question is, can they repeat it? Can they do it again? With players, outstanding individual talent like DSL, formerly known as Jin Zhao, they certainly have what it takes to do so. And also, I wanted to highlight MJ. I think the synergy between DSL and MJ right now is so good. DSL, formerly known as one of the most aggressive ranged assassin players in the league, got a little bit less aggressive. And MJ really fits the style of this, you know? He's having those really awesome moments on heroes like Alex Strasza, heroes like Decker Kane. He always seems to know when to support and when to help the allies in need without extending and overextending himself.
I would definitely agree with you that I think MJ is probably the least aggressive support in HGC China, which I don't think is necessarily an amazing thing. I say Druid's pretty close, but the fact is, like you say, the team themselves appear to be adjusting around that particular playstyle. And as such, we're going to start off with the Deckard Kane for RPG. The one banning out the Cassia, you can see exactly how much DSL actually gleams and just demands respect on that hero. But this does now open up the possibility for the one to bring out the Hammer, the Phoenix, the Reyna. They're going to pick the Hammer to start, which is interesting so early, because that allows RPG, if they can, to bring out the Chromie, bring out the Nazebo, bring out something along those lines.
Yeah, and I think the one drafted really well into this one weakness that I would say RPG still suffers from, and that is mage play. Consistent, good, reliable mage play. They don't have a dedicated mage player like Mene in Europe, for example, for Fnatic, right? They don't have this super destroying Li Ming, Jaina, Gul'dan player, for example, Kel'Thas player. Whenever DSL is getting forced into that role, or even Pod does the same thing, they look much weaker than they would otherwise in other heroes. Remember when Pod played Jaina, he got caught left, right, and center all the time. Remember when he played Phoenix, he looked way stronger. And the same can be applied to DSL as well. His Cassia, his Vala, they look so strong, but when he plays heroes like Jaina, still okay, but not nearly as good.
Very true. But now with Zeratul removed, very interesting choice of removal, to me at least. We're seeing a white main. Very cool as well. Not great at out-healing Poke, unless, of course, you go for that Clemency at level 1, which is still very acceptable. Junkrat being stolen away, another solid DSL hero. So with Hammer, Cassia, and Junkrat stolen away, we start to look at Reyna, Jaina, Greymanes, Valas, heroes like that. Phoenix, he's not played Phoenix yet. Once again, that's a par hero.
Yeah, the question is DSL going to show us his Hanzo? Or are we going to see the Nazebo coming in with that little bit of voodoo damage? And as if that wasn't crazy enough, Tetra, we see now another team other than BTG bust out the Alarak.
Yes, we do. So this is definitely a statement by RPG. They have expanded their hero pool, and you can't try this stuff again. It worked 2 times for 2 different teams, but this time RPG have come in and said, we are done being bullied for our hero pools and for our drafts. We are here to play. The Alarak is risky, but Free Show has been a spectacular solo laner up to this point, and I'm really curious to see what he can do with it.
And Volskaya Foundry can be a great map for Nazebo. Now, the only thing you need to make sure of is that you do not lose the early game too hard. Oftentimes when the enemy team gets that protector because of your lack of early game pressure and damage with that Nazebo, they can snowball hard, take structure after structure, and it might be too much of a lead for Nazebo to come back from. But if any of those early game team fights around the protector go well for RPG, or if at least they slow them down long enough without taking fatal structure damage, then Nazebo has what it takes to come back with that late game power spike, with that spider build that we know is oh so deadly against Sergeant Hammer.
And this is something, once again, the Clemency for for Whitemane, is the only out-of-fight healing that she has that is efficient, if that's the build they go for, and that does not out-heal spider damage. It is a terrifying amount.
Yeah, so Whitemane is really going to have to be on her tippy toes and provide all that sweet, sweet healing onto Sergeant Hammer, and especially in the late game, as you said, Tetcher. I mean, Whitemane can out-heal the spiders, but in order for her to do so, she needs to use so many Q stacks, right? That could build up desperation, and that could really cause her to go out of mana very, very quickly.
And so then, ladies and gentlemen, we are preparing for game number 1 of our third series of the day. Can the One bring it home with their more classic style of poke and control composition? Or will the unconventional RPG draft with that voodoo magic and the power of the Tal'Darim bring it home?
At this point, I am very much curious to see exactly that with the One who are going to have to play against all that wonkiness with Hugo, Keshi, Meng, ZJZ, and Huhu.
And on the right, it is RPG with Free Show, MJ, Pa, C, and DSL. DSL playing that Nazeebo here, coming in for the team. Free Show, as we already mentioned. Solo laner for the team, playing that Alarak. It makes sense running Alarak as a solo laner on this map because there are longer, more extended fights. So you can solo lane and then join and still gain the stacks for your infinite lightning styles of builds, which is what we are seeing here. And we are also going to be seeing, of course, those Widowmakers coming in for Nazeebo.
Now, Tetcher, I would call myself the resident Nazeebo expert in here. He's he's actually the most played hero in all of my roster. So nice. I usually consider myself pretty well versed on that hero, but with a player of the caliber of DSL, formerly known as Yan Zhao, actually busting out the hero, I'm already gearing up. I'm super close to my monitor right now because I want to see what he brings to the table, right? I could certainly learn a thing or two, perhaps. So super excited how he is going to play that hero. Hopefully we're not going to build up this hype in vain. Hopefully he has indeed practiced, but I would certainly assume so.
We're also, as we already said, seeing the Pa Hanzo here, so which is cool to see. Coincidentally... Panzo. Coincidentally, if there's anyone from Master League watching, update your RPG roster. Pa's not on it, and he's playing really well. He deserves to be there. Their roster is not up to date at all, and as such, the stats are just non-existent there. So we see RPG moving in to pick up their fortification camp about the same time as the One. Both teams finishing pretty quickly.
All right, and a lot of it comes down to Nazeebo, you know, not only building up that momentum, not only stalling enough time for him to actually reach his final form, speaking of which we might have actually cursed it. Nope, the potion comes to safety, comes to rescue, and DSL lives to see yet another day. But also, something especially with a spider build that comes into play is his accuracy, right? The skill shots, the timing, it needs to land at the right time on the right target, and that is not always an easy thing to do. However, Sergeant Hammer only has limited mobility herself, which makes this spider build so rewarding against her, because unlike other heroes like Vala, for example, or Illidan, they are so mobile, so nimble, it's oftentimes super hard for Nazeebo to get this.
Concussion Mine on the point, so that guarantees that healing pulse going over to RPG. But you can see Nazeebo gain some good damage output there. Does not land the spiders, but those frogs massively lowered the health of Hurl. So as such, the One will have to back up and head back to lanes a little bit more passively due to the amount of health damage they took.
Yeah, and that was really hard for RPG to get in the first place because all that, you know, dislocation, all that knockback that the One had, right, with that Garrosh Toss and the Concussion Mine. So not an easy endeavor for them to steal, and they tried nonetheless, but at least they didn't lose a hero in the process. So we see the Hex Crawlers coming in at level 4 for Nazeebo as well. Sometimes, even with the Spider build, people tend to go for the big Voodoo, especially if they want to build up that late game tankiness. But, you know, the Hex Crawlers, especially with that Spirit of a Rock here at level 7, is going to give Nazeebo so much self-sustain during combat.
Indeed it does. So it's a question of whether you're on a map where you can just get as many stacks as possible, in which case Big Voodoo is going to be good. So this will be your Tomb of the Spider Queens or something like that. Or whether you're going to be simply relying on your poke. We already see Widowmakers, by the way, is already complete. Ooh. But if you're more reliant on your poke or you're going to be in a more teamfight focused, then Hex Crawlers is the way to go.
All right, 3 minutes already, and the Widowmakers, as you said, are already complete. That is going to be a really, really nice power spike for Nazeebo. Usually, if you play Nazeebo and the enemy team avoids you all the time, you can't really land those spiders in the first place. It takes up to 10 minutes to actually get that done. I shouldn't say 10 minutes, but 6 minutes.
Nice micro by Free Show. Looks like he might want to join in and assist. Junkrat has been left alone up in top lane, so he's going to be trying to siege with that Merc camp. But finally, with DSL here, you can see that Clemency heal being used. Spiders, though. Zombie wall, actually, being used initially. There's the spiders, and here we're going to start to see, even pre-Spirit, the amount of damage. So we're going to try and counter that by the looks of it from the One, with the armor from Hugo and the Clemency from ZJZ. This is their attempt at a counter. For now, though, they're actually going to keep control as level 7 is available for the one and not available for RPG. So they're going to try and very quickly grab the fortification camp, but they need to hurry up. They need to hurry up and finish this camp and move back onto the point. Otherwise, they're just giving up the first objective. 92, 94, 95, 96. Is C going to dive it? No. Protector has given up in exchange for a fortification camp and level 7.
All right, so there were two major downsides for RPG to really go for that fight, right? First of all, as you said, level 7 just arrived too late, and also the healing pulse makes up for so much of the damage that an early game Nazeebo can dish out. So the spiders land once again, you know, nice little amount of extra damage. Siege tactics, though, good against Alarak. But I'm overall okay. Hold that thought. Pa, unfortunately, got absolutely annihilated by that rocket fist. See, we learn, Tetcher. We learn.
We do learn. But yeah, he shouldn't have been there, quite frankly. That should never have happened.
I mean, this rotation of the Protector should have seen from a mile away. So definitely his mistake for mispositioning, just like DSL is.
Well, Meng might die in exchange at least. No, shield for the Protector. That means Meng will live, and now Freeshow might die. Rocket Punch. No Rocket Fist this time. Freeshow will be able to escape. But those were two unnecessary deaths coming in, and as such, the one have a full level lead now.
Especially that second one. I mean, sure, losing your life every now and then because you're sleeping on the rotation, that is already bad. But when you know that the Protector is there already in the first place, you just can't give them another kill and give them so much momentum. Freeshow survives thanks to his shove. Pretty good stuff coming in. But that little move, that moment of being unaware, actually cost them an entire level, even more than that, 1.5 levels. And, you know, we talked about the time stalling and the time buying that Nazeebo needs. Right now, it's not looking all that great.
It is not. They have found Hohe pretty far forward. He's trying to zone out for Kieshi, who is once again trying to push up top lane, which Junkrat was also able to do some good damage to. Good use of telekinesis to escape by Freeshow. Very nicely done here. See, also spots Hohe and is going to back up again. And see just how hard it is to assail Assumption Hammer. This is why Nazeebo is so needed. Although, fortification camp stolen away by RPG on the other side, but they might end up giving up a fort for this.
Yeah, they don't have level 10s, you know, heroic abilities are not there, so I like the move. They're trying to, you know, salvage the situation to the best of their ability. Freeshow also making sure that he does not get flanked by the Garage. C is trying to, you know, keep him away and at bay. Now, Freeshow, though, needs to be careful. There is no BFG, so he doesn't have to worry about getting burst down.
Nazeebo still not here, still not running into still not running against the hammer. Maybe saving it for the team fight, maybe saving it because he has the wave clear needed to try and lane against Urel. But right now, that has cost them the first fort of the game. Second fort in mid lane is already weakened from the Protector push earlier, and we're going to see a second healing pulse going to get picked up for the one.
Yeah, this is starting to look mighty rough now for RPG because the mercenary cooldowns on this map on Volsky Foundry are relatively low. Especially the healing pulse actually arrives much sooner than many people think it would. And this really leads into these crazy item situations in which the team with a bigger lead in the early game could actually equip almost every single hero with one of those items, either the turrets or the healing pulse. And 2 healing pulses, as we said, are kind of a big deal, especially against that slow poking damage from Nazeebo. Are we going to see a Ravenous Spirit here, by the way?
It should be. Even with the amount of harassment Urel offers, Muradin and Alarak should be enough zoning potential to give Nazeebo at least enough time. And either way, if you do have that happen, you're forcing a massive overextension, which could be punished by a Deckard Cain and an Alarak. So I would prefer to see it, whereas the Gargantuan is just going to get destroyed. It can get tossed away by Garrosh. It can get blown up very quickly by Sergeant Hammer, who's not going to take too much damage from it. So I hope that we see a Ravenous Spirit.
It's also really good against Whitemane in general, because if you land it on her, you either force out these Scarlet Ages immediately, and Pa unfortunately gets caught again. A little bit out of position. This time he was actually... Wait, who can actually pick it up? Only Hammer. Keshi goes for the turret, stole it.
Picks it up, and they got it. Nice steal away, stealing that turret. Now they're going to try and blow up Hohe to counter it. Counter-Strike not landing, no damage dealt. Now Freeshow is in danger. They dropped their own turret to try and do some counter damage, which is focusing onto ZJZ, which is quite nice. But Hohe has already disengaged from this. That was just a 2 versus 3 that forced the turret out. That was...
Yeah.
That could have just been avoided.
And that is the really, really good synergy here between Whitemane and Garrosh. We already mentioned this many times before, guys. Garrosh gets that armor, and with that strong burst healing, the healing that he received is basically going to be much more valuable and much more efficient as well. And that is why we see oftentimes those crazy survival plays by Garrosh, thanks to Whitemane. By the way, we did not see what Nazeebo picked here at level 10, I think it's the Gargantuan simply because of the lower cooldown.
Yeah, you can tell it's Gargantuan here. Turret picked up, so there is a double turret available for RPG, and they really should contest this. They don't have 13, but they can get it elsewhere. Looks like they're just going to split push again.
Yeah. So I like this call once again. 13 is just so close, but they won't make it in time. But they really need to fully commit to this bottom now. If they don't get the fort, then they're not going to get anything done.
Well, they're going to have level 13, but they're far too late to contest, so it's just going to be a 13 defense against a Protector, which will get at minimum 1 fort, maybe 2.
All right, so the top lane has already been weakened. What is the one going to play this now? How are they going to play this? Are they trying to go for the keep, or are they trying to open the map a little bit more? I think opening the map in the middle is probably the safer route. The fort is almost destroyed as it is. They might even just take the big long tour and go all the way to bottom and extend their experience lead even more.
Yep, Nazebo, they're going to be mixing it up a little bit at 13, going for the Guardian Toads instead of Ice Block, getting that extra 25 armor, which could be pretty dope actually against Hammer, being able to engage pretty hard, because there's not actually that much burst other than whatever is set up by Garrosh, so I can see that, and he can still go for Soul Harvest later on as well, and that will still work out fine.
I mean, Ice Block is pretty good, obviously, against certain heroes that can lock you down, like Alrak, for example, who's, of course, on his own team's side. So, yeah, Ice Block not really needed here against what the one has, I feel. Superstition is an underrated talent, oftentimes against long-distance poke, like, for example, Jaina or Junkrat offer. But the Guardian Toads are interesting. I very rarely use this talent myself, if at all. So let's see how much value the flat-out armor can give Nazebo in terms of tankiness.
Let's see, indeed. C has to be careful. Dragon Arrow, I love the attempt, but just off target. Taunt used, but Dwarf Toss also already used. He has to burn the Avatar. Lornado comes out. He tries to escape through Urel. Good knock up. The potions are as good as they can be, but the damage is still there. Turret was thrown out, though, so it's not stolen away.
Only after 11 minutes and 16 seconds did Hanzo complete the simple geometry. That really tells you the course of this game, right? How much RPG seems to be struggling to get anything done, whether it's Nazebo stacks or Hanzo stacks. In fact, we haven't even seen how many Voodoo Ritual stacks are available for Nazebo right now, but I assume he's not doing all too well.
I would assume you are right, as right now RPG are having trouble. We're seeing some good spiders, though. You can see just how much damage they did to Hertha here, who was the only target. So once again, it's all single target. Free show, thrown in. Counter-strike this time went off, but it's not enough to actually hit anyone. It was the wrong way.
They were able to force out one healing pulse already. A big two-man stun and taunt coming in.
Free show's alive.
Yeah.
Free show lives as they move forward. C holding down the front line. Good scatter arrow this time from Par. He needs to start stepping up his plays as they begin moving forward. Once again, armor being applied as DSL moves forward. Zombie wall is on point for Keshi. Spiders, Dragon Arrow blocked by Hucha, and that's going to allow Keshi to live here.
All right, SPT, sorry, the one. They need to find that opening window in between the spider stacks. Beautiful play by C, actually escaping the enemy team's fangs just in the nick of time. 2 healing bolts now forced out. This is definitely a good result here by RPG, and DSL marching forward, dropping the prop onto Keshi.
And RPG is starting to take control of the fight. Junkrat's not here. This is a man advantage for RPG. If they can get Hucha before Junkrat arrives, this could be their opportunity for a turnaround. Taunt is used, gets a huge amount of damage. MJ and Free Show dropping low to the Junkrat. Rip tire, baby! Takes out the double kill. And with that, that is RPG getting demolished in this fight. DSL, he will retreat back. He will likely even survive. But the keep is now under siege.
Yeah, and Nazebo needs to run for his life here. He drops more spiders, gets a little bit of healing there as well, but the Garrosh is too much for him to handle. Where is he?
DSL lives. He's certainly putting the pressure onto the members of the one. He is escapes for a while, but gets killed off by the AoE on the gate, and he goes down, and that is a big staggered death.
And all it took was one Meng on Junkrat to reinforce the one, because for the longest part, this fight that looked so uneven there towards the end was a 4 versus 5. So the moment the scores were evened out and the one had their full 5-man unit available, that was when the pain really started to hail down onto RPG. You could see all those grenades, and the Riptire, most importantly, just deals so much damage. Decker Kane was not able to out-heal that in the instance here. And already, the 19 to almost 16 advantage for the One. It's just not looking all that well for RPG. They already lost the bottom keep, which could now be the opening window, the game-ending enabling move here for the One, especially if they get that Protector. That basically, in my opinion, has to be an all-out fight for RPG. If they let that Protector go through with that open door in the bottom already, that game is over.
Oh, Siege Tactics just expired after the Dragon Arrow hit. And as such, like you said, easy bait. 70 seconds, 60 seconds now until that is back. RPG, not a good angle for them to fight. But on the bright side, DSL is back. They're pulling them into a choke point. DSL can try and wrap around here and try and make a decent play. We know RPG have some great teamfight damages. They took the previous fight, but eventually got turned on. This time they have 16, but their opponents have 20.
That is correct. Now, level 16 is here. As you said, Healing Pulse still available for the One. Very little damage being dealt up to this point. Whiteman is just so good at counter-healing this. Now, we have the walking Torbjorn turrets on that conveyor belt. Looking good. Is a strong zoning tool, that's for sure. But can RPG break through the defenses here of the One?
Gargantuan begins to march forward. C with that healing static. Somehow Nazebo got taunted in there. Free show going down as well to the Riptide. No, Riptide just dives into the backline and finishes off the final remaining members. Yeah. Full team wipe coming in for the One. There's the Protector, and they're just going to take that all the way to the core.
Man, the One, I think if we looked at a replay here real quick, I think we would have seen how well and defensively the One had played that. Not only in terms of, you know, the turret location, it completely zoned out Pa on the Hanzo here, by the way, but also in terms of how and where they placed that healing pulse. It was impossible for RPG to reach that, which meant guaranteed healing value for the One. From start to finish, they played that super well. That Protector is going to nail down RPG's hopes and dreams, and that is game number 1 for the One. Nazebo looking good at times, but not enough time was bought.